3 weeks before he died, Carel Fabritius painted a bird in a cage. Not a lion, not a god, not a battle. A bird, barely bigger than your fist, chained to a wall, alone. Why would a man, at the height of his powers, spend his final weeks painting that? Some people think it was a coincidence, a simple commission, a decorative piece, nothing more. But Carel Fabritius had buried a wife, buried a child, watched everything he built, twice, turn to ash. Men like that don't paint things by accident. This is not a story about a painting. This is a story about grief, about captivity, about a man who knew somehow that time was running out and left us one final message we're only just beginning to understand. Carel Fabritius was born in 1622 in a small village outside Amsterdam. His father was a school teacher who painted on the side. Nothing remarkable, nothing that suggested what was coming. But Carel had something. By his mid-20s, he had made his way to Amsterdam, to the studio of the most famous painter in the world, Rembrandt van Rijn. And Rembrandt saw it immediately. That rare, uncomfortable thing, a student who might surpass the master. Fabritius absorbed everything, the technique, the drama, the light. But then, his wife Eltje died in childbirth. The baby died with her. He was 21 years old. Try to imagine that for a moment. You are at the beginning of everything. Your whole life is open in front of you. And in a single night, the woman you love and the child you never got to hold, both gone. He kept painting. What else could he do? He remarried. He moved to Delft. And something shifted. Away from Rembrandt's shadow, away from Amsterdam, Fabritius began to paint differently. Where Rembrandt painted darkness pressing in from every side, Fabritius opened the background. Bright walls, clear light, air. He placed his figures in space, not drowning in shadow, but breathing. It was a radical idea. Nobody was doing it. And slowly people noticed. He became known, respected. He joined the Painters Guild. He took students of his own. One of them, a quiet young man from a few streets away, would go on to become one of the most celebrated painters in history, Johannes Vermeer. But Fabritius himself, he was the one they were watching. He was the one they believed in. He was 32 years old, with decades still ahead of him, or so everyone thought. It's the autumn of 1654, and Carel Fabritius, for reasons we don't fully understand, paints a goldfinch, small, precise, almost unbearably tender, a bird tethered to a wooden perch by a thin chain around its leg, set against a blank pale wall, nothing else in the frame. Now, let's look at this painting slowly, because every detail is a choice, and every choice means something. The light falls from the upper left, clean, northern European light, washing over the bird's chest, its beak, the wooden perch. Everything glows, except the wing. The left wing, tucked against the body, sits in shadow, just that one part, hidden. In Dutch Golden Age painting, the wing represents freedom, flight, escape, the soul leaving the body. And Fabritius chose to leave it in darkness. The chain around the leg is painted with extraordinary care. You can see each individual link. You can almost hear it, that tiny metallic sound when the bird shifts its weight. But look at the chain around its leg. That's the first lock. Follow the chain down. It connects to the perch. The perch is the second lock, and the perch itself is bolted to a ring in the wall. Stone, immovable. That's the third. 3 layers between this bird and the sky. The bird isn't struggling. It's just there, waiting, resigned. October 12th, 1654. A clerk named Cornelis Sotens unlocks a storage facility in the heart of Delft to inspect the gunpowder reserves. 90,000 pounds of black powder. We don't know what happened next. A spark, a lantern, a mistake. The explosion was heard 100 kilometers away. An entire quarter of the city gone in seconds. Fabritius was in his studio when it happened. He was pulled from the wreckage still alive, barely. He died hours later. Every canvas, every sketch, every experiment, buried under the rubble. Of a career spanning over a decade, fewer than 15 paintings survive today. 15. From a man Rembrandt himself considered exceptional. And yet, the Goldfinch survived. This tiny canvas, 33 centimetres tall, pulled from the ruins of the city that killed him. A chained bird, outliving the explosion that freed it. Here is what I believe, and I want you to sit with this. Carel Fabritius had lost everything, twice, a wife, a child, a former life, and he had rebuilt, each time, from nothing. By 1654, he was stable, respected, finally recognized. And then he painted a bird that cannot fly, not a bird straining against the chain, not a bird looking toward the sky, a bird that has accepted. I think Fabritius wasn't painting a goldfinch. I think he was painting himself, a man of extraordinary talent, chained, not by metal, but by grief, by loss repeated so many times that the desire to escape it had quietly exhausted itself. And the 3 locks between the bird and freedom, the chain, the perch, the ring in the stone, his dead wife, his dead child, and the weight of having survived them both. He didn't paint this for a patron. He painted it for himself, as a confession. 3 weeks before the world ended, Carel Fabritius looked at what he had become, and he put it on a canvas the size of a notebook. And then the explosion came, and the only thing that survived was the cage. The Goldfinch hangs today in the Mauritshuis Museum in The Hague. Most people walk past it. Now you know why you shouldn't. If this stayed with you, there are hundreds of paintings like this one. Stories hiding in plain sight. Subscribe. We'll find them together.